Can you hear me now? Let me know in the chat if you can hear me okay now. Okay, I see we still have some no audio coming in, but let me know if that's changed. I'll give it just a second because I know the chat lags a little bit behind. All right. Let's see. Just let me know in the chat if that had changed, if you can hear me now. It looks like from my end that it's working. So go ahead and type in the chat if you can hear me. Thanks for bearing with us. Okay, Lenore, thank you. Amber, thank you. See, this is why I need you all here. you're all my tech check crew as well. So thank you, and let me say my whole spiel over again because apparently my correct mic was not plugged in. So thank you so much for being here. Say hello in the chat. So many of you are here and have been helping out with my audio issues. So thank you for that. So let me know where you are watching from today. I love to be able to see how we have folks from all over the world here. So if you are joining us live, say hello in the chat, share where you're watching from. If you are catching this on replay, go ahead and type replay. Love to see you here as well. And I am going to repeat myself since you couldn't hear me before, but as we go along, I'm going to be sharing a lot of information and tips with you. So please help your neighbor out. If you hear something that resonates with you or that is an important takeaway, please type it in the chat for other people. And as we go along, I do want this to be interactive. I want this to be a conversation. That's why I love having you all here with me. So please share your insights, your tips, your questions in the chat as well. All right, let's see. We have Tian from Toronto, Lenore, my fellow Jersey girl, Amber in Florida, Sanjita in Charlotte, Mohammed in UK, Janello, Louisiana, Istanbul, Uganda, Pakistan, Kenya. Oh my gosh, it's amazing just to see everyone from all over the world. So before we go any further, I want to introduce myself because you may be newer to my world or just catching me on live for the first time. I am Melody Wilding. I am a professor of human behavior. I am an executive coach, and I am the author of a book called Trust Yourself. Stop overthinking and channel your emotions for success at work. And Amber was mentioning in the chat, she has read the book. So thank you, Amber. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have read the book, let me know in the chat. I always love to hear about it. And I am also the creator of a program called Resilient. And this is a first of its kind comprehensive program to help sensitive high achievers, maybe someone like you, regain their confidence, master their emotions, and reach their full potential at work. So I call these people sensitive strivers. If you've been in my world for any amount of time, you've heard this phrase. But for those of you who are new, this refers to professionals who think and feel everything more deeply. So these are people who are more attuned to other people's emotions. They can more easily sense other people's emotions, but they also have a very active inner world. Now, this perceptiveness and thoughtfulness can really be a gift. But if we don't balance or channel these qualities effectively, they can leave us more susceptible to things like self-doubt, overthinking, and imposter syndrome, which is exactly what we're here to talk about today. So when I say imposter syndrome, I want to clarify what we mean, because I think as this idea has thankfully become more popular, the term has been co-opted to mean a bunch of different things. So when I say imposter syndrome, I'm referring to the phenomenon of feeling like a fake or a fraud despite your accomplishments. And that last part is very important because imposter syndrome disproportionately affects people who actually are high achieving. So that's the ultimate irony of it, that it affects people who have many degrees, who have lots of training, get good praise, have positive performance reviews, maybe even have advancement opportunities and promotions, but they still don't believe in their own capabilities. So imposter syndrome is not just a lack of confidence or insecurity, though that is a big part of it. A big hallmark of imposter syndrome is there being a disconnect between how you perceive yourself and what is reality. So a disconnect between how you view yourself and your capabilities and what is actually true and fact. Okay, so let me know if you have ever struggled with imposter syndrome. Just go ahead and type me in the chat. I would love to see how many of you are relating to this. And Cheryl was saying, hi, Melody from San Diego and the author of The Imposter Lies Within. Yeah, great. Great to have you here, Cheryl. Excellent. Okay, so as I was saying, imposter syndrome is really a disconnect between how you see yourself, your self perception, and reality. So, in other words, what this comes down to is that when we struggle with imposter syndrome, we have trouble internalizing our success. We push it away, it's like it bounces off of us. So, with imposter syndrome, you have difficulty recognizing your accomplishments. You don't integrate those experiences into your identity and how you see yourself. They don't become part of your self concept. You just see yourself as incapable, not skilled, not smart enough, what have you. So, I'm going to read off a few signs of imposter syndrome, and I want you to see how many of these 7 you can relate to. So, just keep a mental note for yourself, and I'm going to ask you how many of these you can relate to. So, the first one is I can give the impression that I'm more competent than I really am. Number 2, when I'm praised for something at work, I'm afraid that I won't be able to live up to those expectations in the future. Number 3, when I have succeeded at something and received recognition for my accomplishments, I have doubt that I can repeat that success in the future. If I receive recognition for something, I tend to discount the importance of what I've done. All right, number 5, I tend to remember the times in which I haven't done my best more than the times when I have done my best. And number 6, I feel or believe that my success in life or my job has been the result of luck, of connections, or of some kind of mistake. All right, and our last one is it's hard for me to accept compliments or praise about my intelligence or my achievements. So, out of those 7, how many of those do you relate to? Okay, I see a lot of you saying, yes, me, that many of you have struggled with this and relate to this. Yes. Oh, and Amber was saying a therapist recommended my book to her. That's wonderful to hear. I'm so glad. So, out of those 7, how many of those did you relate to? Go ahead and type in the chat. Now, if you related to more than half, so let's say more than 4 of those, then I want you to listen up because overcoming imposter syndrome is possible. And actually, I don't even want to say overcoming imposter syndrome because sometimes that can set a false expectation for us, but certainly changing your relationship and how much imposter syndrome paralyzes you is absolutely possible. But all of this requires that we do our part to retrain our brains, and specifically that we begin internalizing our successes. This is a skill that can be learned to stop just overriding and pushing away, explaining away your achievements as the result of luck, or I was in the right place at the right time. It was a team effort, right? It's like it bounces off of us like Teflon. But instead, what we want to do is let them soak into us like, sunshine or, rain soaking into you. We want to be able to take responsibility for them and learn to appreciate them and see our achievements as actual signs of our skill set and our capabilities. So I want to be really clear here that internalizing your success is not the same as becoming conceited or having a big head or being someone who just brags all over the place. Think of confidence as having extremes. So, on the one end of the spectrum, we have people with imposter syndrome. Those are people that have low confidence, but they have high competence. So, they may not believe in themselves, but they actually are good at what they do. All right. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, we have folks with Dunning-Kruger syndrome. And that's the opposite of imposter syndrome, where someone has extremely high confidence, but they don't have high competence. So I think we have all encountered people in our careers or our lifetimes who really believe in themselves, but who actually don't have a lot of skills or expertise or credibility to back it up. Okay. So those are the two extremes. What we want to do is come to the middle, come to the center where we have a healthy sense of confidence, where have both high confidence and high competence, right? So people with healthy confidence are able to both recognize their strengths and own that they have some weaknesses and areas for growth that they need to improve. They're able to advocate for their own needs, make requests, set boundaries, but they're also open minded and they admit when they don't know everything or when they need to delegate or ask for help. All right. So let me see how this is resonating with you. Amber was saying, agree, taking a step back to rethink how we are thinking and not believing the bad thoughts since they are not valid or true. It's, yes, absolutely, that ability to have metacognition, which is thinking about how you're thinking. I mean, that is just a next level skill. Yes. And Amber was saying, and then acknowledging the thought and trying to let it go. Yes. And Amber was saying, I've been trying to schedule worry time. Yeah, that's such a great strategy to help compartmentalize some of your worries, focusing on, I'm going to set worry time for whatever, 30 minutes on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And that is my time to allow myself to think about all these concerns and fears I have and do my best to constructively problem solve. Okay, so we've been talking a lot about how imposter syndrome fundamentally is about not being able to internalize your achievements. So, what I want to do is give you a few actionable ways that you can begin turning that around. You can begin taking in your successes, appreciating them, celebrating them, and that will help you start overcoming imposter syndrome starting today. Okay, so our first strategy is to shift your explanatory style. So, your explanatory style is a fancy way of saying, this is how you explain situations to yourself. So, this is how you make sense of the challenges and roadblocks you face and why things happen to you and what they mean. So, in other words, what is the story you tell yourself about events that go on in your work and life? So, Dr. Martin Seligman, he is a world renowned positive psychologist. He found that there are generally two types of explanatory styles, and you're probably very familiar with them. One is pessimism, the other is optimism. Now, people with imposter syndrome tend to have a pessimistic explanatory style. So, when something good happens to them, they attribute it to external factors, right? It was luck, it was timing, it was teamwork, as I said before. And they see their achievements as a one off, as just that was a fluke, that it's not indicative of something true to them. It's not indicative of their intelligence, their character, what have you. They see any success or good things that happen to them as temporary and fleeting. I can't count on this in the future. Okay. So it's a pessimistic style. Now, people with an optimistic style tend to see good things that happen to them as the result of internal factors, their inherent capabilities, their smarts, the effort they put into a situation. They see good things as more stable and permanent, that if I apply myself, I could likely get the same result again. So it's the difference between saying, I'm I'm great at data analysis versus saying, I don't know what happened there. I was having a good day and that's why that report came out well. Okay? So the great thing about this is that your explanatory style is not fixed. It's something you can train yourself into, and you can shift yourself into a more optimistic style. So I want to challenge you this week to reframe one situation that you face. So take something good that happened to you at work and explain it through that optimistic lens. So think about why it's the result of internal factors. Think about why this is lasting and not temporary. And think about why it's pervasive, how it means you doing something good in one area could translate to other areas. Okay. So take something good that happened to you this week and explain it through that optimistic lens versus the pessimistic one. And I think what you will find is that this starts to nudge you towards being happier, more motivated, more productive. And that's the goal here. Okay. So that's our first strategy, is to work on shifting your explanatory style. Second tip, internalize your success by accepting compliments. All right. So the second tip is to internalize your success by accepting compliments. All right. Now, this may sound stupidly simple. Like, okay, you're just saying I should accept compliments. But hear me out, because this is remarkably difficult when you don't believe in yourself. I don't know if any of you have experienced this, but when you struggle with imposter syndrome, you don't allow yourself to take in praise or recognition that other people give you. Your boss may say, I was really impressed by how you handled that client situation. And you brush it off. You say, "Oh, that was nothing. It was no big deal. The team really pulled together." Or you explain away why, well, actually what you didn't see was all of these things went wrong behind the scene. You throw yourself under the bus. You minimize it and you undermine yourself, right? How many of you are guilty of that? When someone gives you a compliment, you push it away. You repel it. So let me know in the chat if you have ever done that, because I certainly know I have, and this is something I've had to work on and catch myself doing a lot. Now, why do we do this? It's because when we are struggling with imposter syndrome, praise, hearing good things about us, creates cognitive dissonance. Okay? It creates cognitive dissonance, which means the praise doesn't agree with how we see ourselves, right? So anything that doesn't match our beliefs, we as humans tend to push away. We don't like it. So hearing good things about how skilled you are, how smart you are, doesn't fit how you currently see yourself. So instead, you reject it, right? But the flip side of that, which is also very dangerous, frankly, is that we then tend to amplify and we zero in on all of our mistakes, our missteps, our weaknesses. So is this sounding familiar to you? I want to check in with the chat. I see a lot of people are saying all the time. And Amber was saying, yep, I give everyone else credit, not myself. Yes. And Christina was saying, I definitely struggle with repelling compliments. And Amber said again, we assume everyone is awesome at the same skills we are, which is not true. It's so true. And I'm going to mention this in just a minute, that the things that come easily to us are the very things we dismiss. But at the same time, those things are often our strengths, right? Yet we dismiss them because they just seem so simple, and they often don't take us that much effort. So it's so true. Okay, so the next time someone gives you a compliment, I want you to just work on receiving it gracefully. Just saying, thank you. I'm so glad you noticed. Or I appreciate that. And that's all. No over explaining, no verbal vomit of why this didn't work out and how it wasn't good enough. And if you want to take this a step further, you can also ask a question to get more information about your strengths. So you might say, thanks for that feedback. What did you enjoy the most about my presentation? Or thanks for the feedback on that deliverable. What stood out to you as most valuable? Okay. Now, when I do in-person workshops, which is fun, getting to actually go on site and work with companies in person again, one of the activities we often do is I have people trade feedback to see just how uncomfortable and difficult this can actually be. So I will have one person give their partner a genuine compliment, not, your hair looks nice or I like your outfit, but a genuine compliment about their character, their work style, what have you. And the only thing the other person can say is, I receive and accept your compliment. That's it. I receive and accept your compliment. And it's really a self-awareness exercise in seeing what comes up for you when people give you praise. Do you get, does your stomach start to do somersaults? Do you want to immediately rush to giving the other person praise to say, oh yeah, but you're so great too, right? It's really useful. And you can try this with yourself, with a partner you trust, a coworker, and just see how you respond. It can be fun to do on your own. Okay. So let's see. We have our first strategy is to shift your explanatory style. Second we have is to internalize your success by accepting compliments. Let's see. I just want to check in with the chat. So Ali was asking, is combating imposter syndrome related to psychological detachment? Is combating imposter syndrome related to psychological detachment? It can be. It absolutely can be. So yes, not getting so attached, not getting so fused with the stories we tell ourselves is definitely key to overcoming imposter syndrome. And if you have taken my LinkedIn learning course on overcoming overthinking, then you know one of the major strategies I advocate for is psychological distancing. And one good way to do that is to name the voice of your imposter, to give it an identity that is separate from you, and preferably something that's funny and maybe a little silly or lighthearted so that it starts to change your relationship with that inner critic. And if you would like access to that course, feel free to message me here and I'm happy to give you free access to that. Okay. All right. So, our third strategy to overcome imposter syndrome is to start a brag file. So, I think many of you might be able to relate to that sensation when you sit down to work on your performance review or your resume or your LinkedIn profile, and suddenly that just wave of dread comes over you. You feel discouraged, demoralized because in that moment, sitting there, staring at the blank cursor on your screen, you may struggle to think of anything worthwhile, notable, valuable that you've done in the past 6 months, year, or in any recent history, right? It's like all of that goes out the window. And all you can seem to recall is your weaknesses, your mistakes, all the ways you failed or you didn't measure up and reach your goals. And I can speak in detail about this because again, I have been there. I am a sensitive striver as well. And we teach what we most need to learn. So what I also know is that you are here because you are likely someone who is accomplishing great things every day, but you'll never gain confidence from them if you just move on to the next thing and you don't pause to celebrate your wins. And I know that sounds very frivolous. It sounds like a very privileged thing to do, but there's real value in doing this. The act of internalizing your success really changes your physiology and it strengthens your psychology. Because when you do so, your body releases endorphins, and those are the positive feel good chemicals. And those all reinforce a feeling of competence that you know what you're doing. So, one very simple way to do this is by creating a brag file, a place where you are documenting important successes, a place that you can reference to keep milestones you've achieved, kind words from customers, positive feedback from your colleagues or your manager. And the great thing about your brag files, it comes in very handy the next time you need to ask for a raise or make a case for your promotion. And it can give you important data about what you do and you don't enjoy about your work, which can give you really important insight to guide your career. Now, this has been so valuable for me because anytime that I'm having a rough day, and this happened just recently, the last 2 weeks have been quite rocky over here. And so, one of the things I did to give myself a boost and remind myself of why I do what I do is that I look at testimonials and emails. I look at messages those of you have sent me on LinkedIn, or you've emailed me about how my book or my courses have helped you. And that's what keeps me going. That instantly brightens my mood. It reminds me that I'm doing this for a reason. I do have value to offer. My work is meaningful, even if it's not for everyone and not everyone likes it. Even though there are tough moments, the upside outweighs all of that. Okay. All right. So let's see. I want to check in. Brittany was saying, my husband is a praiser. Well, that's wonderful to have a partner who praises you. He goes on and on about my accomplishments, which I appreciate, but I can't see them the way he does. To him, they're accomplishments, but to me, they're just a Tuesday. It doesn't make me feel more accomplished. I hear you, Brittany, and it has to feel resonant to you. And I'm actually going to get to that in just a second with our last tip here. Joel was saying access to the Overcoming Overthinking course would be fantastic. Please message me, Joel. I'll get you access to that. And Andrew was saying, this is so great. I used to be afraid to talk about my wins. Now I do what I call a humble brag. That's exactly right. Okay. And Amber was saying, I'm working on my accomplishment list at work as we speak, since I just finished a major review and took lead. And yes, reminding myself that mistakes or not, being perfect is also success because you learn and you adjust and you do it better every time. Found some key insights and telling myself not to downplay it. Exactly. And so you're all leading me to our last tip for internalizing your success today that I want to share with you, which is develop a new definition of success. So, as a sensitive striver or someone who struggles with imposter syndrome, you probably have a very narrow, specific definition of achievement. And it's probably demanding excellence and perfection from yourself at all times. Now, I don't want to tell you to lower your bar, but I do want to encourage you to broaden your scope of what qualifies as a win in your eyes. Achieving the desired outcome isn't always in your control. I'm sure we've all discovered that in the last 3 years. So it can be really helpful to broaden your definition of success to include more things like pushing through resistance or overcoming a fear, taking a stand for your belief, finding a creative approach, responding to a situation differently than you may have a week, a month, a year ago, hitting one small milestone on the way to a larger goal. So all of those things may not look like this idea we have of success in our mind, which is epic wins and A pluses and gold stars across the board. So I want you to all think about what is a way you can give yourself more credit for something hard that you did this week. Okay. Share in the comments with me. Where can you give yourself more credit for something hard you did this week? So, focusing on your strengths helps you increase your sense of resilience and your sense of resourcefulness that you are achieving in spite of some of these challenges. You can handle whatever is thrown at you. Okay. So, let me know what small win you can celebrate in the comments. Okay. Let's see. I can't see the person's name, but someone is asking, it's so hard. Are sensitive strivers also perfectionists? Yes, many times. Sensitive strivers have very strong perfectionism. And I'm going to be talking more about this, I think, next week. But as sensitive strivers, we have 6 key qualities. And part of that is one of those qualities is inner drive. So we have this desire and this drive for excellence, to always be pushing ourselves and be growing. But if that quality is left unchecked, then it can look like perfectionism. It can look like being overly hard on ourselves, setting the bar too unrealistically high, taking on too many goals, right? So it's all a balance here. Okay. So there you have it. Those are our 4 ways to overcome imposter syndrome by internalizing your success. And let's review what we talked about. We talked about shifting your explanatory style from pessimistic to optimistic. Number 2, practice accepting compliments. Number 3 is to start your brag file. And number 4 is to expand your definition of success. All right. Let's see. What are you celebrating yourself for? Joel was saying attending a networking event and applying for 20 jobs and volunteering. That's fantastic. Way to go. Brittany was saying, I've done quite a few things this week without them needing to be perfect. I tell my clients I'm a recovering perfectionist, and that feels like a win. 100%. I get it. And actually, Alexa here. Hi, Alexa. So great to have you. Something we shared in my community for sensitive strivers over on Facebook. We were having a conversation there, and Alexa was a part of that. We were talking about the value of doing B- work. That sometimes B- work is not only okay, it's more than appropriate, and it's what's called for, because not everything deserves our 110% effort. Okay. All right. So Alexa was saying, so timely. Yesterday, I decided to deep clean my inbox, which led me to stumble upon feedback from an academic grant reviewer from 2017. This anonymous reviewer said they would rank me in the top 2% of applicants. Wow, that's fantastic. Okay, wonderful. All right, so let me know what resonated with you the most today, what your takeaways are, what action steps you're going to be trying. I love to hear that because information without action, frankly, is useless. So that's what we care about around here is action and progress. And if anything I shared today resonated with you, then do want to encourage you to check out my program, Resilient. There is a QR code, or should be a QR code, in the corner of the screen here today. Let me just make sure that is live. There we go. So I have that QR code here in the corner of the screen. And you can take a picture of that with your phone, and that will bring you right to joining the Resilient waitlist. Now, this is a program that is specifically designed to help you as a sensitive striver regain your confidence, master your emotions, and reach your full potential at work. So just imagine how much further you could go without imposter syndrome, perfectionism, self doubt, overthinking, all of those things we touched on today, without all of that holding you back. And just how much more fulfilled, productive, effective, how much more impact you could make if you could get out of your own way. And Resilient helps you do just that. So, this is a 3-month group coaching program. You get access to me and my executive co coach, Wendy Carey. And through the program, we give you proven strategies to trust yourself and to use your sensitivity to actually work for you instead of against you. So, helping you go from feeling helpless to more empowered, from feeling insecure to more confident and assertive, from overthinking everything to more proactive and focused, and from emotionally spiraling to more balanced and grounded. So, in a few weeks, we're going to be opening up enrollment. And this is the best time right now to get on the wait list. So, you can head to melodywilding.com/resilient, or you can take a photo of that QR code here in the corner today. You want to get on the wait list because that is who we open up spots to first. There are limited spots in this program. They do tend to go fast. So, if you are at all interested, you can take a photo of that QR screen. We also have many employers who happily sponsor the program on behalf of our members. So if you are interested in that, you are more than welcome to message me. I'm happy to send you the materials we have for requesting that sponsorship and making the request to your employer. Okay, everyone, that is it for now. Thank you so much for joining me today. I will see you very soon. I will be back here next week with another live for you. Okay, everybody, take care. I'll see you soon.